Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making millions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/hidden. Protect yourself now at aura.com/hidden.
Hey listeners, this is Peter and welcome back to the History Shorts. Today's episode is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the world. Download Podcast Republic today, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. If you want to understand why the great powers of the 20th century built massive battleships, fought for control of sea lanes, and viewed oceans as the key to global power, then you need to start with one man, a naval officer who rarely commanded fleets in battle. His weapon was not a cannon, it was a book. His name was Alfred Thayer Mahan, and his ideas reshaped how nations thought about the sea, influencing presidents, emperors, and admirals across the globe. This is the story of how Mahan's theories of sea power helped define modern naval warfare. Today's History Brief returns to Felton and Fowler's famous Americans you never knew existed. A quick word from our sponsors.
Owning a home is full of surprises. Some wonderful, some not so much. And when something breaks, it can feel like the whole day unravels. That's why HomeServe exists. For as little as $4.99 a month, you'll always have someone to call. A trusted professional ready to help, bringing peace of mind to 4.5 million homeowners nationwide. For plans starting at just $4.99 a month, go to homeserve.com. That's homeserve.com. Not available everywhere. Most plans range between $4.99 to $11.99 a month your first year. Terms apply on covered repairs.
This day in history. On March 15th, 44 BCE, Julius Caesar was assassinated in Rome by a group of senators fearing his growing power. The killing plunged the Roman Republic into chaos and ultimately paved the way for the rise of the Roman Empire. On March 15, 1917, Tsar Nicholas II abdicated the Russian throne amid revolution, ending more than 3 centuries of Romanov rule and reshaping the course of the 20th century. Story of the day. Alfred Mahan was born in 1840 into a military family. He graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy and served during the Civil War. But his early career was not marked by any dramatic battlefield success. Instead, Mahan developed a reputation as a thinker, someone fascinated by history and strategy. By the 1880s, he found himself teaching at the newly established Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island. There, he began asking a question that seemed simple but carried enormous implications. Why did some nations become great powers while others faded? His answer, he believed, lay not on land, but at sea. In 1890, Mahan published The Influence of Sea Power Upon History, 1660 to 1783. The book argued that control of the seas, not just armies or colonies, determined which nations dominated global politics. He studied Britain's rise as a naval empire and concluded that maritime trade routes, strong fleets, and strategic bases allowed a nation to project power far beyond its shores. Mahan wrote, "Whoever rules the waves rules the world. The phrase captured a larger argument. Sea power, he believed, rested on several key factors: a strong merchant fleet, overseas bases and coaling stations, a powerful navy capable of decisive battle, and geographic access to major trade routes. The book became an international sensation. Translated into multiple languages, it found readers not only in the United States, but in Europe and Asia. At the time Mahan wrote, the United States was still a relatively modest naval power in comparison to other nations. But his ideas resonated with leaders who believed that America's future lay beyond its continental borders. Among those influenced was Theodore Roosevelt, then a rising political figure with deep interest in naval history. Roosevelt saw in Mahan's work a blueprint for expanding American influence through maritime strength. In the years that followed, the United States began modernizing its navy, building steel battleships and seeking overseas bases, from Hawaii to the Philippines. Mahan's theories did not cause these changes alone. That would be silly to say. But they did give intellectual justification to a growing movement toward naval expansion. Mahan's influence extended far beyond the United States, however. In Britain, naval planners embraced his emphasis on concentrated fleets and decisive engagements. In Germany, Kaiser Wilhelm II reportedly admired Mahan's writings, seeing them as validation for building a powerful navy to rival Britain. Even in Japan, rising naval officers studied Mahan closely, integrating his ideas into their strategic thinking during the early 20th century. This global adaptation created a paradox. A single American writer helped inspire naval buildups that would later contribute to international rivalries, including those leading to World War I. One of Mahan's most influential arguments was his belief in the decisive fleet engagement. He believed that large, heavily armed battleships operating together could determine the outcome of wars by destroying enemy fleets in a single decisive confrontation. This idea shaped naval construction for decades. Nations raced to build bigger and more powerful ships. The British HMS Dreadnought, launched in 1906, embodied many of Mahan's principles: speed, heavy guns, and concentrated firepower. Naval strategy across the world began to revolve around preparing for a climactic clash at sea. Well, not everyone, however, agreed with Mahan. Some naval thinkers argue that he underestimated new technologies, submarines, aircraft, and mines, that would reshape warfare in the 20th century. During World War I, battleships rarely achieved the decisive victories that Mahan predicted. And by World War II, aircraft carriers had begun replacing battleships as the dominant instruments of sea power. Yet, even as technology changed, many of Mahan's broader ideas endured. Control of sea lanes remained essential. Logistics and supply networks still determined strategic success. And maritime dominance continued to shape global politics. Mahan died in 1914, just as the world he helped influence descended into global war. By then, his ideas had transformed naval policy in multiple nations. They helped justify imperial expansion, strategic alliances, and massive naval budgets. Some historians argue that the naval arms race before World War I owed as much to Mahan's intellectual influence as to political rivalry. Others suggest his work reflected broader trends already underway, just providing language and theory for ideas that many leaders were already considering. Either way, his impact is undeniable. The History Brief. The following comes to us from Felton and Fowler's famous Americans You Never Knew Existed. In the Battle of Sackett's Harbor during the War of 1812, David Sackett's hand was blown off. He was 76 years old at the time. Some years later, a tree fell on his head and fractured his skull. And a few years after that, while he was in the Massachusetts State Militia, by then in his 80s, both his legs were splintered by a blast from a misfiring cannon. The fractures healed, but his legs were forevermore riddled with festering sores. And soon thereafter, he fell prey to arthritis. Then a horse kicked him in the face, causing permanent disfigurement. When he died in bed in Illinois in 1851, he was 115 years old, the longest surviving veteran of the Boston Tea Party. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and helping make this little show such a mighty success. If you are enjoying this show and would like to help with its production, you can always donate a few dollars at buymeacoffee.com or become a Patreon member to enjoy these episodes ad-free. Both links can be found on our website at www.historyshortspodcast.com. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all again tomorrow.